hit the open road, and cruise back to the late 70s with BJ and the Bear. 1979 to 1981, the light-hearted adventure series that followed trucker BJ McKay and his unforgettable chimpanzee sidekick, Bear. With its mix of comedy action and feel-good charm, the show became a cult favorite and a staple of classic TV. But after the last rig rolled off the screen, what happened to the cast who made it so memorable? In 2025, we revisit their journeys from careers that kept rolling in Hollywood to surprising detours far from the spotlight. Join us as we uncover where the stars of BJ and the Bear are now. Murray Hamilton was born on March 24, 1923, and played Captain Rutherford T. Grant in 1981 at age 56, embodying the pompous, rule-obsessed bureaucrat whose every appearance drove audiences mad with his arrogance, yet strangely compelled them to keep watching. On screen, he was brilliant at giving authority figures a sinister twist, but off-screen his life was far less controlled. Growing up in Washington, North Carolina, in a working-class home with financial strain, Hamilton was bullied for a stutter and spent much of his youth hiding behind bravado, learning to mask pain with sharp wit and sarcasm. His career gained traction with stage work, leading to his unforgettable role as the cowardly mayor in Jaws, but Hollywood quickly pigeonholed him as the eternal antagonist, fueling deep resentment. Behind closed doors, Hamilton wrestled with a drinking problem that escalated during the 1970s, with crew members recalling angry tirades and mood swings that made him difficult to work with. The most devastating professional blow came when he was cast in a prestigious Broadway revival, only to be abruptly fired after clashing with producers, a humiliation he never fully recovered from. His marriage, strained by rumors of infidelity and long absences, grew distant, and Hamilton drowned loneliness in alcohol, retreating into bitterness as leading roles disappeared. By the 1980s, his health declined rapidly, but he concealed it behind his trademark bravado, even as friends abandoned him, exhausted by his volatility. On September 1, 1986, he died of lung cancer in Washington, North Carolina, at age 63, the product of years of chain smoking. His estate was valued at roughly $500,000, consisting of residual checks, modest real estate, and fading royalties, a sobering reflection of how one of Hollywood's most recognizable villains ended his life quietly wealthy, only in the infamy of the roles that had both defined and trapped him. Susan Woolen was born on June 7, 1947, and took on the role of Stacy in 1979 at age 32, an intelligent, self-reliant woman who challenged stereotypes of the era by refusing to play the helpless female. Viewers admired her sharpness and charm, but Susan herself was living a life of contradictions. Raised in a fractured home filled with emotional distance, she was mocked for being outspoken, and quickly learned to shield her true feelings with wit. Her Hollywood rise was promising, but rocky, while BJ and the Bear gave her recognition. Whispers of scandal soon overshadowed her career. In the early 1980s, rumors spread of a torrid affair with a married producer, a shadow that blacklisted her from several high-profile projects. Her reputation for being difficult, fueled by fiery clashes with executives over creative control, cemented her outsider status. The most crushing blow came when a television series she was developing collapsed overnight after executives turned on her, leaving her publicly humiliated and privately devastated. Her personal life mirrored this chaos. A string of volatile romances, broken engagements, and betrayals left her mistrustful and isolated, though she threw herself into writing as a survival tactic. She found limited stability scripting for shows like Remington Steele and The Equalizer, while quietly investing in California real estate, a decision that gave her some security as acting offers evaporated. By the 2000s, she had retreated almost entirely from the spotlight, described by friends as a once fiery talent, now weary of fighting Hollywood's machinery. On August 19, 2023, she died in Los Angeles at age 76, with the cause not made public, her final years marked by privacy and distance. At death, her estate was worth about $2 million, composed of royalties, residuals, and property holdings, a modest yet telling testament to a woman who defied Hollywood's rules and paid the price in both opportunity and peace. Charles Napier, born April 12, 1936, played Hammer in 1979 at age 43, a bruising enforcer with a gravelly voice and predatory stare, who immediately registered with viewers as the perfect menace to BJ's freewheeling lifestyle, a character who embodied all the corrupt roadside muscle that the hero had to outwit. Audiences loved to hate him, but Napier himself was living a constant battle beneath the surface. Growing up poor in Mount Union, Kentucky, he endured an abusive alcoholic father and years of bullying for his looks, leaving him with scars that drove his hunger for validation. Hollywood wasn't kind. He was fired from early television. Pilots had a reputation for being hot-tempered on set and carried a chip on his shoulder over never breaking into leading man status. He often drowned frustration in alcohol and admitted later that he obsessed over fame to a destructive degree. His most humiliating professional blow came when he was cast as a lead in a major war movie, only to be replaced after clashing with the director, an event that haunted him and hardened his reputation as difficult. His personal life was equally chaotic. 2 turbulent marriages, public fights over infidelity, and children who accused him of being emotionally absent. Friends said he chased younger women and resented his peers' success. By the 2000s, his career was kept alive through voice acting and conventions, but health problems and money anxieties gnawed at him. On October 5, 2011, he died at 75 from cardiac arrest in Bakersfield, California, leaving behind an estate worth roughly $1.5 million, mostly film residuals and property, a modest legacy compared to the torment of a man who gave Hollywood everything but never got the validation he craved. Claude Akins, born May 25, 1926, stepped into the role of Sheriff Elroy P. Lobo in 1979. At 53, a loud, corrupt lawman whose antics, equal parts buffoonery and menace, were so magnetic that he spun off into his own series, making him a household face, if not a true star. Fans adored his larger-than-life presence, but Akins resented the constant typecasting as heavies and blowhards. His upbringing in rural Georgia was steeped in hardship, marked by poverty and constant ridicule tied to his Cherokee heritage, shaping a man who fought fiercely for respect but always felt like an outsider. After Wabibaru II service, he studied acting, but Hollywood dismissed him as too coarse and too ethnic for leading roles, relegating him to side characters. Despite being genial in interviews, he was notorious for feuds, especially after losing plum roles to clean-cut actors he believed were less talented. His greatest career heartbreak came when he was cut out of a major Western film, just weeks before filming began, replaced with a younger star, an insult that left him bitter and drinking heavily for months. His marriage was troubled by jealousy, and his long absences, and he was whispered to have had affairs with co-stars during location shoots, rumors that quietly followed him for years. As he aged, health declined, family deaths deepened his gloom, and he grew increasingly irritable about being forgotten by an industry he had once dominated on television. He died of stomach cancer on January 27, 1994, in Altadena, California, at 67. His estate, valued near $2 million, was built on decades of steady TV work, real estate, and endorsements. But behind the money was a man whose legacy was more about bitterness at what he was denied than pride in what he achieved. Ed Lauter, born October 30th, 1938, was 40 when he debuted as Captain John Sebastian Kane in 1979, embodying the cold, calculating face of authority, a towering figure who clashed with BJ in ways that unsettled audiences who saw in him the embodiment of oppressive power. Fans respected the menace he projected, but Lauter's own story was one of relentless struggle. His childhood in Long Beach was defined by loneliness, with a perfectionist mother who demanded constant achievement and peers who teased his hawkish features, instilling in him an iron discipline, but also a gnawing insecurity. He became a workhorse in Hollywood, amassing more than 200 roles, yet almost always as the villain, the guard, the heavy, never the hero. His obsession with work made him both respected and resented. Peers whispered he would undercut them to secure roles. And his most painful setback came when he was cut from a major prestige film after weeks of shooting an unexplained decision that left him devastated and distrustful of producers. His personal life mirrored the instability of failed early marriage flings with much younger actresses that earned him a reputation for predation and strained relationships with his children, who accused him of prioritizing Hollywood over family. In later years, bitterness seeped through interviews where he admitted frustration at never breaking free from the supporting ranks. Tragedy arrived with mesothelioma believed linked to asbestos exposure on sets, and his family's wrongful death suit against studios revealed the darker hazards of Hollywood's golden era. On October 16, 2013, he died in Los Angeles at 74 weeks before his 75th birthday. His estate, about $3 million, came from decades of tireless work and property investments. But the wealth was overshadowed by the chilling irony that the very industry that sustained him also poisoned him. Conchata Ferrell, born March 28, 1943, in Charleston, West Virginia, entered BJ and the Bear in 1979 at age 36 as the Fox, a sharp-witted streetwise character whose brash, no-nonsense attitude cut a memorable swath through the ensemble, balancing the show's light-hearted elements with grounded grit. Ferrell's real-life story, however, was far more textured and challenging than her on-screen persona suggested. She grew up in a poverty-stricken Appalachian family, experiencing relentless teasing for her weight and unrefined mannerisms, which forced her to cultivate a sharp tongue and impenetrable sense of humor as both defense and armor. Determined to break free from her circumstances, she trained rigorously and battled the Hollywood system, often being told she was too plain or too outspoken for conventional success. Her career was marked by near misses, including the collapse of a promising stage production. She helped develop long stretches of unemployment and industry politics that favored more conventional looks and personalities. While she avoided major public scandal, Ferrell was notoriously candid and outspoken, clashing with directors and producers over creative vision, and sometimes walking away from projects that compromised her integrity. Personal life challenges included tumultuous romances and periods of isolation, though she remained fiercely loyal to friends and collaborators. She endured health struggles quietly, including chronic weight-related issues, yet remained a force on screen and in theater, earning acclaim for her intensity and authenticity. Ferrell passed away on October 12, 2020 in Sherman Oaks, California, at age 77, due to complications following cardiac arrest. Her estate, estimated at $10 million, reflected both her judicious career choices and consistent work, leaving behind a legacy of resilience, talent, and unflinching honesty, demonstrating how a life shaped by early hardship and industry bias could ultimately translate into enduring artistic achievement. Greg Evigan, born October 14, 1953 in South Amboy, New Jersey, was 25 when he was cast as Billy Joe B.J. McKay in 1979, a free-spirited trucker whose adventures with his pet chimp Bear captured the imagination of late 1970s audiences. B.J. was a complex figure in disguise, charming, clever, morally flexible, and endlessly resourceful, often exposing corruption and injustice, while maintaining a boyish charisma that made him a beloved figure to fans. Evigan's off-screen life, however, contrasted sharply with his on-screen persona. Raised in a household of strict discipline and emotional scarcity, he learned early to conceal vulnerability beneath charm and performance, a pattern that carried into Hollywood. The transition from Broadway to television was not smooth. Despite his talent, he faced constant typecasting, with producers pigeonholing him as the handsome heartthrob rather than a serious actor. The sudden cancellation of B.J. and the Bear marked the nadir of his career, leaving him frustrated and embittered, a symbol of an industry quick to discard those it initially elevates. Rumors and whispered stories of minor on-set disputes, clashes with executives, and occasional gambling debts colored his reputation, although nothing escalated into truly damaging scandal. His personal life was anchored by a long-term marriage starting in 1979, but the pressures of public attention combined with fleeting affairs created tension at home and distanced him from his children at times. Professionally, he witnessed peers succumb to addiction and personal tragedy, which fueled his wariness and occasional cynicism toward the entertainment world. Despite these challenges, he reinvented himself as a teacher of music and acting, choosing quality of life over notoriety. As of 2025, Evigan is 71 and maintains a net worth of roughly $1 million, a sum built from residuals, stage work, and creative ventures, reflecting the life of a man who weathered Hollywood's highs and lows, while sustaining personal integrity, resilience, and the ability to survive in an industry that often chews up and discards its young stars. Sheila Wills, born August 11, 1947, took on the role of Angie in 1981 at the age of 32, portraying a tough, witty, and fiercely loyal trucker who immediately stood out in the male-centric world of B.J. and the Bear. On-screen, Angie's no-nonsense attitude balanced B.J.'s charm, providing both comic relief and moral grounding, earning her a devoted fan following despite the show's waning ratings. Off-screen, Will's life mirrored a dramatic narrative born Sheila DeWint in Louisiana. She endured a childhood marked by financial struggle and social marginalization, often feeling the sting of racial prejudice and the pressure to excel in an unstable family environment. Hollywood's veneer of glamour proved deceptive. She faced frequent typecasting as the strong black woman, while producers dismissed her creative input, and her career was peppered with missed opportunities when studio politics favored less assertive actresses. The most notable setback came when a leading role she had been promised in a primetime soap opera was rescinded just days before shooting a professional humiliation, amplified by gossip that branded her difficult. Her personal life mirrored professional turbulence. A tumultuous marriage to producer Hal DeWint ended in bitter divorce, and her later relationship with actor Philip Michael Thomas, father of her 2 children, was riddled with rumors of infidelity and discord. Wills battled the death of close friends, minor health crises, and the constant struggle of maintaining relevance in an industry that prized youth over experience. Despite these hurdles, she found solace in mentoring younger actors and navigating smaller projects that allowed her some creative control. Now 78, she remains active in limited roles, her net worth estimated at $1 million, a testament to a career of endurance, quiet rebellion, and navigating an entertainment landscape that often sought to sideline her brilliance. Judy Landers, born October 7, 1958, stepped into B.J. and the Bear at 21 as Stax, a bubbly, adventurous, and occasionally clumsy blonde trucker, who provided both comic relief and the archetypal 80s glam charm. While Stax was adored on-screen, Lander's real life was far from carefree. Born in Philadelphia, into a family that pushed both her and sister Audrey relentlessly into show business, she faced constant scrutiny and public critique for her looks and perceived superficiality. Her early career was a blend of opportunity and exploitation, with guest roles on Vegas' Fantasy Island and Madame's Place, often emphasizing sexuality over depth. In 1983, Landers and her sister caused mild scandal by appearing in a non-nude Playboy pictorial, which, despite its innocent framing, led to typecasting and public moralizing. Her off-screen life included a series of romantic flings and entanglements that brought gossip columns to her door, combined with frequent professional clashes with directors who described her as demanding and sometimes manipulative. The death of close family friends and recurring anxiety further complicated her life as she navigated the gap between public adoration and personal insecurity. In later years, Landers and her family transitioned into co-producing children's programming and family films, though critics frequently suggested these were attempts to reclaim relevance rather than purely creative endeavors. Now 66, she is retired from acting with a net worth around $500,000, her financial and celebrity influence far smaller than her early career promised. Her legacy is a curious mix of 80s nostalgia, whispered controversies, and familial collaboration, a woman whose charm and talent were often overshadowed by Hollywood's fixation on image and the scandals that trailed her. John Dullaghan was born on November 27, 1930, and joined BJ and the Bear in 1981 at 49, portraying Nick, the scruffy yet loyal ally who gave BJ connections and inside knowledge. Viewers saw him as a gruff but ultimately warm-hearted character, though the man behind the screen carried far darker secrets. Growing up in Brooklyn, he endured poverty and emotional neglect, often mocked for his awkward appearance, and forced to bury his vulnerabilities. He turned to theater for escape, but his relentless perfectionism quickly became a double-edged sword. Directors admired his dedication, but dreaded his explosive temper, and he developed a reputation for confrontations that nearly got him blacklisted. His biggest career disaster came in the 1970s when he was cast as a lead in a television series, but lost the role days before production, after refusing to bend to executive demands, a decision that haunted him financially and emotionally. Off-screen, his private life was marred by turbulence. 2 marriages ended in bitter divorces, with accusations of infidelity and verbal abuse. His children became estranged, leaving him isolated, and colleagues recalled his increasing bitterness as his peers found success while he languished in bit parts. Smoking heavily through his career, he ignored mounting health problems, even as emphysema stole his breath and his voice weakened. By the 1990s, he was nearly unemployable, surviving on stage work and small television roles, clinging to his craft, while privately collapsing under the weight of regret. On January 18, 2009, he died in Los Angeles at age 78 from lung cancer, his legacy buried under decades of overlooked work. At death, his estate was worth about $1 million, a modest sum scraped together from decades of steady but uncelebrated labor. His name remembered mostly by industry insiders who knew both his brilliance and the chaos he carried. Slim Pickens, born June 29, 1919 in Kingsburg, California, assumed the role of Sergeant Beauregard Wiley in BJ and the Bear in 1979 at the age of 60, portraying a boisterous, cowboy-spirited character whose larger-than-life presence provided both comic relief and grounding humanity. While audiences delighted in Wiley's irreverence and affable charm, Pickens's own history was steeped in struggle danger and relentless self-reinvention. Raised on a modest California ranch, he faced a childhood marked by deprivation and ridicule, particularly for his rustic mannerisms and rough-hewn appearance, which propelled him toward rodeo as a means of escape. His physical resilience and fearlessness allowed him to thrive as a rodeo clown and stunt performer. But the profession left him permanently injured, broken, and often in extreme pain, a price few would dare to pay for fame. Transitioning into Hollywood, he faced a barrage of skepticism, typecasting, and contractual disputes, and his career was punctuated by conflicts with directors, missed calls, and occasional absences due to alcohol and stubborn insistence on his own creative input. Pickens's flamboyant lifestyle included heavy drinking, gambling, and passionate, tumultuous relationships, leaving a trail of both admiration and exasperation in the industry. His most severe career misstep came when he rejected lucrative royalty arrangements for Blazing Saddles, a decision that would haunt him financially and reflect a lifelong pattern of prioritizing principle or pride over pragmatism. Health setbacks, chronic injuries, and the toll of decades of high-risk performances plagued his later years, and he died on December 8, 1983, in Modesto, California, at age 64 from a brain tumor. Despite the turbulence, Pickens's net worth of approximately $7 million at death illustrated his ability to translate chaotic energy and raw talent into enduring fame, leaving an indelible mark on Western cinema and television that balanced on the knife edge between exhilaration and peril. Amanda Horan Kennedy, born March 5, 1957, joined BJ and the Bear in 1981 at age 22 as Samantha, a glamorous and flirtatious character introduced during the show's final season to inject both intrigue and charm. Samantha's allure and sophistication quickly made her memorable to viewers, but Kennedy's personal narrative was far from smooth. Growing up in Leawood, Kansas, she endured a lonely, often ridiculed adolescence. Labeled too showy by peers, she learned to hide vulnerability behind a practiced smile and early talent. Kennedy's Hollywood trajectory was filled with promise, but punctuated by disappointment after landing supporting roles in Quantum Leap: Remington Steele and The Malibu Bikini Shop. She faced abrupt contract terminations, including a devastating firing from a primetime soap opera due to disruptive behavior, a public humiliation that catalyzed a period of depression. Rumors of romantic entanglements with married co-stars and whispered on-set conflicts contributed to a growing sense of ostracization from the industry elite. Kennedy eventually pivoted away from acting, pursuing a master's degree in psychology and establishing a practice as a licensed therapist, an unlikely and drastic career shift that offered both stability and personal fulfillment. She also demonstrated entrepreneurial acumen with her shapewear brand Sassybax, which combined celebrity allure with practical design, though financial challenges during the 2008 recession nearly sank the venture. Today, at 68, Kennedy maintains a net worth around $2 million, a combination of her acting earnings, business ventures, and therapy practice. Yet those who know her note that the ghosts of Hollywood's unfulfilled promises and early public shaming continue to linger beneath the surface of a polished exterior. Linda McCullough, born February 12, 1954 in Los Angeles, California, was 25 when she appeared in 1980 as Callie, a resourceful and assertive female trucker who brought a refreshing female perspective to BJ and the Bear's third season. Callie's character subverted the era's gender norms, showcasing intelligence, independence, and toughness in a male-dominated environment, earning her respect from audiences and marking a rare early attempt at strong female representation in primetime adventure comedy television. McCulloch Keir's real-life story was far more turbulent. Raised in a fractured, financially unstable household with emotionally absent parents, she developed a survivalist persona that belied her vulnerability, learning to navigate an unforgiving world with cunning and resilience. Hollywood, initially intrigued by her presence, quickly became a site of friction. Her refusal to conform to producer demands for passivity and subservience led to conflicts, culminating in her removal from a potential spin-off, an event she cites as the most significant professional failure of her career. The early 1980s also saw her experimenting with cocaine, leading to further professional setbacks and a reputation for unpredictability, while personal relationships were volatile, characterized by short-lived romances that ended in mutual recrimination and estrangement from family. In response, McCulloch withdrew from the entertainment industry, pivoting toward a career in visual arts and environmental advocacy, reclaiming control over her narrative and living life on her own terms. Now 71, she resides in Los Angeles, leading a quieter existence, with a net worth of approximately $300,000 derived from art sales voice work, and modest residuals representing both the fragility and endurance inherent in a career derailed by industry sexism, personal struggles, and the challenges of asserting independence in a world unwilling to accommodate it. Her life narrative serves as a stark illustration of resilience, reinvention, and the hidden personal costs of pursuing authenticity in Hollywood. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of BJ and the Bear and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions, so let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.